fourth house is one-third of the water-ruled houses in astrology. The fourth house is ruled by Cancer, the eighth house is ruled by Scorpio, and the 12th house is ruled by Pisces. All water houses represent the psychological effects of our environment and interactions within that environment. Conditioning, influence, and patterns are some of the circumstances that can be discovered in houses 4, 8, and 12. The fourth house is the establishment of our comfort zone. It is the start and substructure of our initial living conditions or childhood upbringing. It is through the interactions in this house that we will subconsciously define what makes us feel safe and what violates our personal space. We also discover where we go or what we do to find peace. The fourth house is considered a cardinal house, so beginnings, issues of control, and changes within ourself or the environment is conspicuous.
All right, we're going to kick off this presentation with understanding the sign of Cancer. So listed is some of the most noticeable traits in the sign of Cancer. I have a lighter side and a darker side. The darker side is just characteristics that lack awareness or they're in need of an improvement. I will never say that specific characteristics in a sign is bad, just to be clear about that. So starting off, nurturing is probably one of the most attributes that really stick out when it comes to the sign of Cancer. They can be very nurturing to friends and family. They can be nurturing to other people, people that they're not even so much, close with. They could just be acquainted with them. Nurturing just doesn't stop when it comes to other people. They can be nurturing when it comes to working for someone, a job that they enjoy, nurturing for their own business. Very nurturing when it comes to someone else's feelings. The next attribute I would say is that they are extremely giving. They're not only just giving of their time, physical gifts as well, especially gifts with meaning. Givers of food, especially, food that has some sort of attachment to it or memory to it or something that's filling that makes whoever's dining feel comfortable. They can be the best workers. Extremely devoted. Care is definitely noticeable in a Cancer's work. I do give this kind of a red flag. This is why I put a safety cone next to it, is because they can tend to overcompensate. And that will be discussed later on in the presentation about basically the emotional tie that a Cancer can have to constantly wanting to appeal or appease others. They can be fierce protectors, not just of their family, fierce protectors of just responsibility itself. Anything that's given to them, it could be a secret. It could be a plan to execute, just safe numbers, fierce protectors. And I want to say renewal. When we think of renewal, I think of crabs and how often they have to molt just to live. Cancer is one of the only signs of the zodiac that can be self-healers. Many people will maybe seek out a counselor or help from a relative or help from an outside source. Cancers are actually skilled and gifted with the power to actually self-heal. Maybe some time alone where they can reflect or censor their thoughts, and they can actually reappear to the world seemingly brand new, totally healed from whatever adversaries or suffering that they had experienced. So just to come over to the darker side now, I know a lot of people have probably experienced this or said this about Cancers, and it is true. They can be clingers, and not just of other people. They can cling to memories, times in the past that sometimes it should be memories that kind of should be, I don't want to say forgotten, but they should work on letting it go. They can cling on to versions of people that it no longer exists, or maybe that version of that person never even existed. They can cling to things of value, or what is valuable to them, a sentimental value, which can also make them resistant to change. They can be clinging of just bad habits, painful emotions. Manipulation. When I think of what it is to manipulate, automatically I go right to the modality and element of Cancer, which is cardinal water, which can literally shape shift rocks. So in the form of the sign of Cancer or the person that is a Cancer, they can be avoidance. They can be demanding. They can play the victim. All of these behaviors can literally shapeshift their environment or whatever the current circumstance is in the moment. When it comes to their security, Cancers can really obsess over losing money or experience financial losses. Again, there is an emotional tie that usually is attached to how they actually spend. They can overpay for things. But I actually gave this a safety cone here because one of the good things about security and safety when it comes to the sign of Cancer is that it's such a priority to them, and they will do anything that they can really just to make sure that their family, as well as, them, that they're fine, that they're stable, that they're safe. And last on the list, I have vulnerability. Crabs, they're at the bottom of the food chain, and it's not just from predators. It's humans are predators to them as well. I mean, humans love to delight in the taste of crab. So when we look at the sign of Cancer, that could be a lack of boundaries. They can be naive to those with ulterior motives, subjected to takers, and definitely their fluctuating emotions. Unfortunately, because their emotions tend to wax and wane, they can tend to be around those that kind of lack sensitivity for them as well.
These traits I have mentioned are highly affected in the fourth house. Your environment and everyone that participates in your environment will have their share of responsibility in encouraging independence or codependence, enabling detachment or clinginess, and welcoming vulnerability or defensiveness. I believe emotions are the most exposed when we are dealing with the fourth house. Considering the fourth house is centered around one of the main parental figures, which is the mother, you would have to assume that mental attachment is at its strongest.
The sign of Cancer is the only sign that is ruled by the moon. So the moon is the natural atmosphere of the fourth house. This simply means that this house will involve and heavily influence psyche, childhood, parenting, emotions, and our shadow side. So here I have some astronomical facts on the moon and my astro interpretation of how it affects the fourth house. So, a simple description of the moon is, as I mentioned, it rules over the sign of Cancer. A complete rotation is about 2 to every 2.5 days. A complete orbit is about 29.5 days. And this is just from new moon to the full moon. The sidereal lunation is about a little over 27 days. The energy of the moon is feminine. The moon is friends with Sun. She's friends with Mercury. She's equals or neutral with Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn, and she doesn't have any enemies. This simply means that if there's any other planets in proximity or she's in conjunction with any of these planets that I have listed, she will not negatively affect those planets, but they can possibly affect her and how she performs in that house. She represents happiness, the mind. She represents the mother, and she represents health. So starting with happiness, the moon is complete darkness. It is the sun's light that is reflected on the moon, and the way that the light is displayed is through the lunar phases that we see every month. It creates the illusion that the moon is actually changing shape when in fact it's just the light. My astral interpretation is the moon is a reflection of your emotions and how you regulate them. The moon brings awareness or light to how others in your environment treat you. The moon is a very important factor in creating the bulges in the water, or what we know as tides on Earth. As the Earth rotates, these tides follow the moon. My astral interpretation is water is a representation of the mind and memory. Water responds to the rhythm that flows through it. If you took your hand and splashed down on the water, you would see the rhythm or the waves of the water move through the water. And so basically an ebb and flow. The moon is the mother. The sun is 27 million times larger than the moon, but the moon is about 400 times closer to Earth. So the sun's gravitational force is not even half as strong as the moon. It's around 46%. So my interpretation of this is the sun, as we know, is represented as the father and the moon is the mother. Both may have a strong influence on our chart, but objectively, the moon may be stronger. And as we continue on this presentation, I will definitely validate that claim. And lastly, the moon affects our health. As we all know, the sun is the great life source of energy, and the moon distributes all that energy. If the sun was gone tomorrow, so would everything living as well. My astro interpretation is the moon regulates our amperage of energy. So if we're feeling a little weak or fatigued or we're feeling energized, moon plays a great contributing factor in our energy or our wellness.
The moon represents the continuous emotional highs and lows we experience. She also has a major responsibility in being the life force, as the strength of your moon sign can have much dictatorship over your birth chart. The fourth house is about our fluctuating environment as an adolescent. Whether it was various responsibilities, overbearing authority figures, or how our surroundings affected us, the constant invasion on our emotional space not only lended a hand in developing our emotional safe spaces, but it also set the limit on what we can and cannot tolerate. Many of us had great childhood upbringings, but nonetheless, the fourth house is where we begin to learn about our boundaries, and if we have them, or we need to develop them. We get to observe the many phases the moon displays each day, and like clockwork, she repeats the same routine every month. These symbiotic occurrences are a preview to the shape-shifting experiences that happen in the fourth house and how we subconsciously learn to adjust to it.
So now that we've gone through the sign of Cancer and we've gone through the moon, I would like to start with the common interpretation of the fourth house, which is probably the most popular things that any person who has researched the fourth house would commonly know about it. The fourth house is one of the first few houses that deal with development. So childhood, home, roots, where you were raised or you spent much of your childhood, how the decor of the home was or the physical conditions of the house is all reflected in the fourth house. Lineage is seen in the fourth house. Your responsibilities is seen in the fourth house. That could have been maybe you were on dish duty every night, or maybe you had to pick up a little brother and sister after school. Land and assets is seen in the fourth house. Finding your dream home, relocation, finding that location based on your likes. Maybe you like a nice downtown view of the city, or maybe you'd like a nice country home. Basic essentials are seen in the fourth house. Comfort during your private time is seen in the fourth house. How you decorate your home is seen in the fourth house. Your favorite hobbies. Your safety and security is seen in the fourth house. Mother is probably the most familiar thing that many of us know about the fourth house. You could have had the nurturing mother, the mother who, even if the kids weren't of her own, she was very loving and caring to those children. You could have had the friend mother who you can come and talk to about anything, and even hang out with her. You could have had the jack of all trades mother. She could have been a builder. She could have been an excellent cook. She could have been the soccer team's coach. You could have had the adventurous mother who liked to travel all the time and always learning new things. You could have had the entertaining mother who was into aesthetics. Maybe she loved to host big dinners and grand events, where maybe a lot of the attention could have been centered on her. You could have had a therapist mother who overanalyzed everything and wanted to talk through every single thing that you went through. You could have had the confident mother. Even if she maybe didn't work, or if she stayed home, she was dressed to the nines all the time and kind of exuded a certain confidence about her that you picked up on. Even on the days where maybe she was sad, she always looked or she felt or she acted her best. Fourth house rules goodbyes, parting ways, coming to terms with things. How we express our love, especially when we say goodbye. Are we giving really tight hugs? Are we giving handshakes? Are we trying to make that goodbye as quick as we can? And last on the list here, I have perception, interpreting issues, resolving, the ideal guardian. Maybe there was a parental guardian that lived in the house or lived in a house nearby that watched over us, whether it's a favorite aunt or a cousin, someone who we looked up to. And also how we see our mother when we're growing up. And now we've reached the dark side of the fourth house, or I like to call it the complex fourth house. Every house has a turbulent or needs improvement or potential to be not so good part of it. So basically all the light-sided things that I mentioned in the common fourth house is shown here as the dark side in the complex fourth house. So instead of family traditions, there are family curses. That could be seen in hidden emotions of the mom. It could be seen as family debt. It could be seen as running away from home. And even if it's not really the physical sense, just wanting to escape. A family detachment that you have. Neglect. Property loss is seen in the fourth house as well. Liabilities, bad investments. You could be overspending due to an emotional tie of not having things in the home. Maybe the home was very restrictive on buying things. Maybe you didn't have a lot of games growing up, or money was scarce. So as you grow, maybe you have an emotional tie to overspending to compensate for all those things that you possibly never had. And that could be seen in purchasing properties or homes or condos or whatever place we choose to live that we can't afford or that's beyond our means. That's seen here. Invasion of privacy, isolation or hiding from others. Maybe your privacy was compromised growing up as a child, where everything was out in the open, or there was always a lot of people in your home and you just didn't have a moment for yourself. That could be seen escaping, self-medication, sweeping things under the rug, keeping things light, not really expressing emotions is seen in the fourth house, and just kind of repressing. Terrible mother. The mean mother is seen in the fourth house. Maybe she was very restrictive or controlling. The father mother can be seen in the fourth house. Maybe the mother took on a bigger role as a disciplinarian, and the father was a bit more passive, or maybe he was away all the time, or maybe not there at all. The aloof mother is seen in the fourth house. I always find the aloof mother to be smart, but just kind of unaware that she's now a mom. And it may be some regrets there. I find you can find the depressed mother in the fourth house, the selfish mother who maybe needed to mature a bit, and maybe she had a child not even so much younger than when she should have, but she just wasn't emotionally ready for the child. The regretful mother can be seen there. And I find the regretful mother a lot of the time could be because of how she may have physically or mentally or emotionally have been treated by the father. The submissive mother can be seen in the fourth house. That mother maybe never seemed to have a voice or a deciding factor in the house. It was whatever the father said. And she almost appeared weak. And you also have the critical mother that's seen in the fourth house, where I find these mothers to work all the time. Or maybe she was an excellent housewife, but she nitpicked every little thing. And in the fourth house, I like to rephrase this as never can say goodbye. So not being able to let go can be seen in the fourth house. Loneliness can be seen in the fourth house. Ruminating on things can be seen in the fourth house. Poor living conditions towards the end of your life can be seen in the fourth house. Maybe towards the end of your life, you're surrounded in debt, or you're alone, or you just didn't get to fulfill the things that you wanted to, can be seen in the fourth house. The reality check of finding comfort in chaos. Maybe a turbulent childhood kind of created a distorted attraction to that in your adult life. So maybe if your mom was a bit combative, you may tend to partner with women or men who may be just as combative. And in some way, you may feel that it's normal. Unresolved issues is seen in the fourth house. Also, the hidden agendas of the guardians, the cousins or whoever was the elders that watched over us. Maybe they were very mean to us or inappropriate. Negative influence is seen, and also how our mother actually was instead of how we idealized her as a child. Seeing her through the adult lens is definitely different. So what does a healthy fourth house look like? What does a work in progress fourth house look like? What does a house in need of repair fourth house look like? Like the moon that reflects the light, every cycle, mothering is a direct correlation to the wellness or sickness in the environment. So happy and healthy mothers. Whatever the way moms out there can decompress and rejuvenate in any way, I highly suggest that you do so. A safe and comfortable home. Being able to retreat to a cozy shell that's made just for you is vital, as the house of Cancer or the fourth house is extremely sensitive. And that's in every way that I've mentioned throughout this presentation. So a home with your favorite hobbies or decor, scents, sounds, whatever gets your feng shui going. Budgeting. Maybe you aren't so bad with spending. I still say those with dominant or affected fourth houses should work on budgeting something, whether that's their time, their energy, not just their money. And this goes hand in hand with boundaries. This goes out to the parents, legal guardians, elders in care of children. Many times we are selfish in our emotions. We neglect or insult the expressions in our children. And this is why you may be guided to watching videos like this now. In all seriousness, allowing your child to be upset, sad, excited, because if they don't turn those emotions outward, it must be storing inward somewhere, and eventually it will combust. And usually it's in a place or to someone who doesn't deserve it. For those that already have experienced the storms of a disruptive fourth house, and you're here now, or you're just learning how to deal with things, or you need help with healing, safe emotional expression, whether it's good or not so good, is warranted. So I always suggest first understanding what you're feeling. And then after, I would suggest talking to an unbiased party before going to those we're familiar with, because sometimes we need that no judgment perspective. And by this time, conditioning is apparent in some way. And it doesn't have to be yourself, but your environment may be conditioned to treating you a certain way because of your defenses. Those with strong or disruptive water houses usually master emotions very well. Pampering yourself pretty much speaks for itself. Relaxation, getting out into nature and meditation, time by the water, just a break from mundane responsibilities. Limited isolation. Alone time is so good. It's a time to just rejuvenate, a time you can center your thoughts. But too much time spent there can turn from a solo vacation to hiding in a dark cave. Isolation or alone time is not to be abused, because you could be running away from life instead of just taking a break from it. So we got to be careful here. And lastly, no overtime on responsibilities. Whether you're plagued with chores as a child, or you felt like an adult although you were in junior high school, or there was maybe always something to think about, or maybe you think so much that you just check out for the day and no responsibilities are accomplished. Maybe you obsess about starting or finishing things. Whatever it is, set a timer on your worries. Responsibilities are not just physical, and we get to decide our hours of operation.
And we've reached the end of the presentation. To wrap up, I just want to quickly summarize the opposing house of the fourth house, which is the 10th house. And I like to call this residuals of the 10th house. So houses 7 and 12 are no longer the self-development houses in astrology. This is now putting everything that we've learned and experienced to society and other people to the test, whether we're willing to or not. So some of the first things that we can actually see as residuals in the 10th house is how our behaviors during childhood are provoked as adults in our professional life. Are we workers that can easily have temper tantrums? Do we get frustrated? Do we work well under pressure? These are some things that will be evident in the 10th house. The working woman versus the stay-at-home mom. There could be an internal struggle to want to fulfill more in your life, but maybe you already have the obligation of wife and children at home. So a struggle could be evident here, and it could be defined in the 10th house. Our confidence and contribution to society. If you are a child that experienced a lot of emotional repression, it can definitely manifest in your professional life or just in society as a whole as being apprehensive or shy or insecure. The father's presence during childhood, or I like to call it the invisible parent upbringing. Whether the father was physically there or not, what was the tone that he actually set in the household? Was he the dominant figure? Was he passive? What kind of energy did he set? Was he always away at work or even when he was home? How present or available was he? He could have been physically in attendance the majority of your childhood, but emotionally checked out. He didn't seem to want to be involved in anything or put effort towards helping out, almost in a dream world. I also find that these fathers who seemed emotionally checked out issued the harshest discipline because his emotions were so detached with his mundane responsibilities. Punishments never seemed to fit the offense. So discipline came as a chore that just had to be taken care of instead of emotionally working through an issue with the child or children. Even if he was around or not, there is still an aura that is cast over the household where some sort of authority from the present parental figure, which is usually the mother, has to be taken, and in a rather aggressive or resentful manner because there is an absent parental figure. This can manifest in the 10th house as severely struggling with authority figures or even finding a family in your colleagues in your profession because home felt so separated. Really, this opposition of the 4th and 10th house has to be unpacked individually or case by case. This is just some examples that I'm throwing out. Never leaving home. There are some people who are a little skeptical of actually coming out of their comfort zone or something that is safe or familiar to them, that it actually shows up in their professional life as just being afraid to take risk or just wanting to do the bare minimum. And lastly, unaccountability in the workplace, or I like to call this babying. More than likely, parents always came to this child's rescue. And in the workplace, when pressure arises, they can tend to play victim or not want to take on any responsibilities. I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to view this presentation. I will see you on the next one. Take care.